When the girls fight, you can get yourself some popcorn and enjoy the show. And over the last few days, our president and the richest person in the world put on a hell of a show. Once best friends, and now they are no longer speaking. However, while the fight might be annoying or entertaining, I want to know how I can make money from this. This is exactly what this video is all about. Because a fight of such proportions will definitely have some negative consequences for Elon Musk, and anytime there are financial consequences, there is someone else on the other side that can benefit from this. Hopefully, this can be you. My name is Mariusz Konieczny, and I've been investing in the stock market full-time for 16 years. I'm also the founder of microcapexplosions.com, which is a private membership website for small and microcap stocks. We find unknown stocks before they become popular. Elon Musk is famous mostly because of Tesla, the company that captivated the masses and made many investors fall in love with investing. However, Elon is a little different. We can call him special. He might be from a different planet, and he appears to want you and I to move to a different planet. Elon likes to fly. He likes to be in the air. No, not like this. He prefers to fly like this. First-class ticket to the moon. While Tesla might be his baby, his first love was SpaceX. SpaceX, his rocket company, was founded on March 14, 2002, which is more than 1 year before Tesla was founded. However, we don't hear much about SpaceX because SpaceX is a private company of which Elon owns 42% of. The reason why there is money to be made from Musk's and Trump's fight is because of SpaceX. You see, Elon is a master problem solver. Between 1950s and through the mid-1970s, the United States and Soviet Union were fierce competitors in the space race. The Soviet launched the first satellite into space in 1957, and the United States put the first human, Neil Armstrong, on the moon in 1969. However, since then, NASA's annual budget has been reduced by more than 50%. And Elon Musk founded SpaceX to address this gap, because the space industry has become increasingly important to life on Earth. Think GPS, weather tracking systems, military, satellite TV, and now satellite internet. They all rely on satellites in space. Also, there was another problem that needed to be solved. The cost of launching rockets was very expensive. Traditional rockets were destroyed after a single mission and required rebuilding after each flight, making launches both infrequent and costly. SpaceX solved this problem by developing usable rockets such as the Falcon 9. As a result, SpaceX became the dominant player, with about 2/3 of NASA's launches being handled by SpaceX. It is no surprise that if SpaceX can launch rockets into space more affordably and more efficiently, that the US government is going to use its services.
Since 2008, the government has awarded SpaceX more than $20 billion in contracts across at least 10 different agencies. Most of it is focused here.
However, because of Musk's feud with Trump, some of these government contracts that SpaceX enjoys might be at risk. On June 5, 2025, Trump said, "The easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts." I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. While it is highly unlikely that the US government would cancel all of Musk's contracts, because frankly, the US government needs SpaceX more than SpaceX needs the government. SpaceX projects $15.5 billion in revenues in 2025, while NASA's annual budget is only $1.1 billion. In other words, SpaceX has plenty of commercial clients outside of the government contracts. However, even a small cut in government contracts away from SpaceX might be beneficial for other smaller rocket companies. And diversifying away from SpaceX might not be such a bad idea, considering that Trump does not trust Musk anymore. This is where Rocket Lab comes in. Rocket Lab is one of very few space companies that can compete with SpaceX. Maybe it's the only one. It was founded in 2006 by Peter Beck. Rocket Lab is a vertically integrated space company, meaning that it builds satellites and satellites components. It builds rockets, which are then used to send satellites into orbit. And once they are in orbit, the company can operate these satellites. In 2024, it generated $436 million of revenues versus $15 billion that SpaceX is projecting for 2025. Consequently, receiving more governmental business could definitely move the needle. However, while Rocket Lab recently received a lot of attention because of the fight between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, there's a lot more to Rocket Lab than just being an alternative space service provider for the US government. With its market cap of $12.5 billion, some investors view it as significantly undervalued. And no, you cannot look at the current income statement and come to this conclusion, because as of now, the company is losing almost $200 million per year. The space industry is a new industry with a massive upside. For example, Jeff Bezos, who is also involved in the space industry, said that he believes his space company, Blue Origin, will be bigger than $2 trillion Amazon. Another benchmark is SpaceX with a valuation of $350 billion. The point is this: the space industry is new and hot. Lots of players want to get into this space because of its future potential. Therefore, a company like Rocket Lab that is vertically integrated can be very valuable for someone else that wants to get into this space. The demand to access space is exploding. Companies that have satellites in orbit can provide all types of services and applications. I mean, look at SpaceX. SpaceX owns Starlink, which is a satellite network to provide high-speed internet from space. The company was only founded 10 years ago, and it already has $12 billion of yearly revenues. Other companies also want to launch their own satellites to develop all kinds of applications. Recently, I made a video about AST SpaceMobile to provide cellular broadband connection directly to our phones to eliminate dead zones. McKinsey & Company estimates that the global space industry will be worth $1.8 trillion by 2035, up from $630 billion in 2023. In order for the space industry to really explode, it needs to fix something, because right now the demand is higher than the supply. You see, building satellites is not really a problem. The problem is getting them into orbit at a low cost. Rocket Lab already has a very successful rocket called Electron. It was first launched in 2017 and since then completed 65 launches and delivered 226 satellites into orbit. However, this rocket is only capable of delivering small loads and is not reusable. The next rocket, Neutron, is a game changer and is scheduled for its first launch in 2025. If or when this rocket is successful, this will open up huge possibilities for Rocket Lab. This company will be able to reuse the rocket and deliver heavier payloads into orbit and thus increase revenues.
The first kind of gate onto it is a successful first flight. Once we have a successful first flight, then we're eligible for the task orders and we can bid on various projects.
And this goes beyond just serving clients. In other words, not only will Rocket Lab be able to build satellites for its clients and send them into orbit, but also own its own network of satellites and have its own applications, just like SpaceX owns Starlink. In conclusion, if it wasn't for these two girls fighting, I would have never learned about RKLB, and I would have never made a video about this company. Now I know more about the space industry than I would have hoped for. It is exciting. I see the upside, and I totally understand why investors think that RKLB is undervalued. At this point, I personally do not own any shares. If you want to learn about the stocks that I own, watch this playlist. With that being said, thank you for watching and see you next time.